Hey guys, it's Kevin again, and this is going to be my review for Arrow, Season 3, Episode 4, The Magician. And this episode was by far the best episode of the season. It was so crazy, and it was just so amazing. I loved it. I loved everything that happened in this episode, and especially having Nyssa back on the show. I really like that she's back because she's actually added a lot of drama to the show. And one of the things I do want to point out, there was no Felicity in this episode, which I wasn't really expecting because one, she was in the promo, two, she was on The Flash, and of course we know Arrow takes place before The Flash, so I thought that, Felicity wasn't going to be on this episode. Now, it was fine because she didn't have to be, because this episode had pretty much no humor at all, which I was fine with, and I thought it was definitely the best episode of the season, and I absolutely loved it, so let's just get to it. So, Arrow's been having a common theme this season, and that is picking up literally right where the last episode left off. They show the previously thing, and then they re-show the scene. So we see Nyssa is holding her bow on Oliver and Roy. She wants to know where Sara is, and she quickly realizes that by the looks on their face that she's dead. It doesn't take her long to realize that. Oliver's apologizing, and I was surprised that right away, she knows that she's dead, because it does kind of make sense, because, she knows her very well, and it makes sense, but I was surprised that right away, it's like, right away, seriously. So, Nyssa knows that Sara was killed with an arrow and wants to see the body, and Oliver tells her where to find it, and when she leaves, tells Roy to follow her. So, Oliver then goes to meet Thea at a restaurant. She's found investors to help her reopen Verdant, and Oliver's happy for her because, that's her job and everything. And she seems, says she seems kind of different, a little bit stronger, and we know why she's strong, because of Malcom Merlyn's training. That's why she's stronger, it's because of Malcolm's training, basically. So, basically, he asks if she's seeing someone or anything, and she evades. Now, of course, he does not know that Malcom is alive. He doesn't know this point. So, we go to a flashback to Hong Kong, and we see that Oliver's tracking a target who is a tourist who's buying ice cream, and Amanda wants him taken out. And Oliver doubts that the man's a terrorist and demands to know why Amanda wants him dead. And Mazo says he asks too many questions. So, at Sara's grave, Nyssa and Laurel have an argument after Laurel refuses Nyssa's condolences. She doesn't want to hear about her condolences and everything. So, afterwards, she heads to the safe house where she's staying in town. Pretty much Laurel doesn't trust Nyssa. I think that's what's going on there. And Oliver has Roy send him the address, and he goes to talk to Nyssa. And the pair are arguing a little bit, but ultimately connect over Sara. Because, of course, he's a little bit upset at her because, she kind of is his ex-girlfriend's, past lover. They did have, some sort of relationship, and he obviously, I don't know if he's so much jealous, but we know that they were more connected than Oliver and Sara were. We know that because, we saw that episode, and we saw that they were still very connected, so he's kind of jealous of her, definitely. So I thought that was interesting that they continued that. So Nyssa tells Oliver that Sara was there after having heard rumors that Malcom is alive. That's why she was there. So, at the Foundry, Nyssa reveals that Moira had turned Malcom into the... Now, if you remember, this was very important because before Moira died, and I thought this was very interesting because, we didn't actually see what Moira was going to say here. Before Moira died and before that horrible, car crash and everything happened, and before they were attacked by, Slade, she said she was about to tell them something very, important about Malcom. And we find out what that is in this episode, which I thought was really good. I myself was thinking that she was just going to tell Thea that Malcolm's her father, but it's actually something else, because we actually find out that Moira had turned Malcom into the League of Assassins, and Sara's camera had a memory card with recent pictures of Merlyn. Now, this makes sense, because Sara just randomly showed up out of nowhere, and we don't know why she showed up. So now, Nyssa kind of backs us up here. So Nyssa asks whether Sara had anything on her, and Roy says she had a blank piece of paper. They light a flame under it, and the ghost ink shows back up, revealing, among other things, that she had at least considered talking to Lance. So Laurel comes to see Quinn at the police department, asking Quinn about Jansen, the other name on Sara's paper, because, she pretty much thinks that maybe Jansen, is a suspect, and Quinn tells her that he was looking into him for Sara, and Nyssa comes to the police department and tells Laurel she needs to tell, Quinn. She needs to tell Quinn the truth about Sara, because Quinn doesn't know that Sara is dead. He still does not know that, obviously. Now, again, I still understand why Laurel's not telling him. She's concerned about his health. he is not in very good condition right now, and she doesn't want him to die. It's that simple. So they're arguing about it, and Quentin comes to see them and asks whether Sara's in town. And Nyssa makes up a lie and says she misses him. I was glad that she, is, gonna, turn against the Laurel, something like that. They are sort of working together. Even though they don't really you can tell right away they don't really like each other very much. They are sort of working together, if you can see. So basically, Nyssa says that she misses him, and he gives Laurel and Nyssa the address he'd given Sara, and they find it's a monastery, and Jansen was facing deportation to China, and Merlyn bankrolled his defense, and Roy, Diggle, Oliver, and Nyssa split up and search the property. And as Oliver and Nyssa find the man they assume is Jansen, Diggle and Roy find Jansen's grave, and it turns out that the man they're tracking is Malcom, which I thought was awesome, because, again, at this point, Oliver doesn't know that Malcom is alive. He doesn't realize it. So, Nyssa attacks him, but he fights back and evades her. Oliver gets a shot off, but only grazes Malcolm's shoulder before he gets away. So they return to the foundry where they tell Laurel what's happened, and the arrow Oliver fired off at Malcom was laced with nanotech, which is a tracer arrow. And Laurel's upset that Oliver had a shot and didn't kill him, but of course, Oliver says that's not who he is anymore. We know that he's not going to kill anyone anymore because of Tommy's death. Ever since that, he made that promise, and he's not going to kill people anymore. But of course, as I predicted, I do feel like this isn't going to last that long. They keep referencing it, and I definitely feel that because they keep referencing it, he's eventually going to kill someone. I mean, he's Oliver. He's a vigilante. He's not a hero. He specifically said to Barry Allen, "I'm not a hero." So if you're not a hero, then kill someone, because that's what vigilantes do. But I guess that, he has his morals. He has certain morals that he's going to follow, but I definitely feel that he's eventually going to break this. So, then we get another flashback. We're in Hong Kong. Oliver kills the man that Amanda had sent him after, taking his keys after he falls. And then we see that Nyssa follows Laurel as she storms away. And Laurel finally treats Nyssa with respect. Before she wasn't really treating her with much respect. She wasn't really, being nice to her or anything. So the two decide that Nyssa needs to get to Malcom before Oliver does so that they can kill him. And I thought that was definitely very interesting. And I do like this rivalry between Nyssa and Laurel. Nyssa pretty much thinks that Laurel is not as tough as she seems. Because, Laurel's a very different person this season. Laurel's a lot more tough and everything, and Nyssa doesn't really buy it, but I think it definitely is very interesting. So at Verdant, Roy comes to see Thea, offering to help the restaurant, get the restaurant back up to speed. She, of course, doesn't at first want to see him, but he says he just wants to be friends, and you can see that they still do have that chemistry. And they're basically going to try to get the restaurant back, and that's what's going to happen there. So that's going to be interesting to see if they can actually get that restaurant back. I'm interested in seeing what's going to happen there. So on the streets, Arrow is tracking Malcom to an abandoned factory, and Malcolm's not there. Though having tricked them, he wants to meet without masks and in public. So he meets him and denies killing Sara, saying that doing so would only make it worse for Ra's al Ghul, who we still haven't seen yet. And he tells Oliver that Thea needs him, and that he saved her during Slade's attack, and that Oliver was too distracted. He again swears that he's not Sara's killer. He says, look, I know what you're saying, but I know that you're not Sara's killer. And he goes on to talk about how he knows that Oliver's not really killing people lately. It's a very awkward reunion, of course, because Arrow is not, Oliver's not all happy what Malcom did. He did some very bad things to him. He's not all happy what he did, and he's pretty pissed at him. So Oliver obviously doesn't trust him at this point, and I kind of thought he was sincere, but I wasn't entirely sure. So Oliver meets up with Thea for coffee, warning her that Malcom is alive. He tells her that if Malcom were going to try to contact her, he would have done so by now. And basically, Thea is keeping the fact that she left to go see Malcom, and that's why she left in the first place. She's keeping that fact hidden, which I think is definitely very interesting that she's keeping that hidden. And that's why she's so different, because she's so attached to Malcom that she is not going to tell them the truth, because she's more attached to Malcom than she, excuse me, than she is to, say, Oliver or Roy. So her phone goes off and she excuses herself as saying it's one of her investors. And then back at the foundry, Oliver tells Nyssa that he believes Merlyn when he says he didn't kill Sara. He pretty much believes her. And he reveals that Thea is Malcolm's daughter, and Nyssa stalks him off to find him, believing that's why Oliver let him live, and Oliver's trying to follow her, but Diggle stops him, telling him that the world would be better without Malcom in it. And I think that definitely makes sense, and that while he doesn't have to kill him, there's no sense in trying to stop Nyssa, because here's the thing, Nyssa and Oliver definitely are two very different characters. Nyssa's a character that if you want someone, if you want her to kill someone, she will do it. She will kill someone whether you like it or not, and I really do like that about Nyssa's character. I think that definitely is something very interesting about Nyssa's character, and something that I'm personally really enjoying seeing about her character is her basically not stopping and not hesitating. She will kill someone if she has to, and I think that definitely is very interesting what she's doing. I really like seeing this. I think it's very well done. I think it's being, done very well, and I definitely am really enjoying seeing Nyssa's character do this. I definitely really enjoyed that scene. So, basically, I think I agree with Diggle. Why not stop her? Why stop her? So back in Hong Kong, Mazeo and Oliver are at Mazeo's apartment, and Tatsu is gone because she hates Oliver, and they argue about the nature of their missions. Yet again, when Mazeo stops away, Oliver bribes Mazeo's son with candy to use his computer. And he opens it, and I thought this was interesting. He opens a drive that was on his victim's keychain. He tells Mazeo he wants to meet with Amanda and about a Ferris air flight. So that definitely is very interesting. So back in the present, Thea and Roy are bantering outside Verdant when Nyssa comes up, incapacitating Roy with a dart and taking Thea away. And I'm like, what is she actually doing here? Like, what is she trying to do? Now, their plan pretty much is genius. Her plan is basically to make Malcom, look for Thea and basically be terrified. And that's how Malcom is going to reveal himself to Oliver and how she will ultimately kill him. That's her plan here. And I thought that was a very genius plan, what they were going to do. And when she did that, I'm like, what exactly is she doing? Because I knew that Nyssa is a good character. She's not a bad character. She's just a very tough character. She's a badass. I kind of would compare her to Melinda May on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Melinda May kicks a lot of ass. She will kill someone, she will beat up someone if she has to. She's a badass and everything, and I would definitely compare her to Melinda because, I can't think of really any other superhero characters I can compare it to, but she definitely is a lot like Melinda in many ways. However, I think she's actually more violent than Melinda than Melinda. Melinda's very violent, but she's only violent when she has to be. However, Nyssa will kill someone if she has to. As I said, she will definitely kill someone. She's not going to hesitate. So, of course, their plan actually does end up working because Malcom comes home, he's looking for Thea in a complete panic. He's completely panicked at this point, and he sees a plume of smoke from his window, and Oliver and company see the same, and they realize that's where they are. They realize that this is where they are, and Nyssa has Thea tied up, hanging from the ceiling, and they argue about whose father sucks more. And Oliver, I thought that was interesting how they argued there, because, of course, Nyssa's father is, Nyssa's father, of course, is Ra's al Ghul, so that definitely was a very interesting scene. So Oliver rescues Thea, ends up sparring with Nyssa as a result, because he doesn't want her to kill Malcom. It's not that he's not on her side, it's that he does not want to kill anyone. He's made that promise. He says, look, I'm not going to kill anyone. I'm not going to do that because he pretty much just doesn't want to kill anyone because of what happened to Tommy, and he feels really bad about it. But I definitely feel that somehow someone's going to have to break that, because I don't feel that Oliver can keep this promise going for as long as he wants to. He wants to keep this promise going for a very long time. I understand that, but I don't think it's going to last as long as he wants it to. So Malcom shows up and telling them he wants to talk, but the three of them just end up fighting. Malcom incapacitates Nyssa, and Nyssa demands Oliver kill him. And, she wants him to kill him, basically. And Malcom tells Nyssa that it wasn't him, implying it was Ra's al Ghul, which is definitely very interesting. And he tells Oliver to go ahead and kill him if he doesn't believe him. He says, look, if you want to break your promise, go ahead and kill me. I actually thought that Oliver might actually do it because of how full of rage Oliver is. But he tells him that no prison will hold him, that his option is to kill him or let him go. And he doesn't kill him, so he lets him go. And I definitely feel this is going to change eventually. I definitely feel that Oliver just, at this point, he doesn't want to kill anyone, but I definitely feel he will. I don't think this is going to, last forever, definitely. I definitely feel that this is going to continue, and we'll have to see what ends up happening, definitely, with this. I'm really interested in this. I don't feel that he's going to keep this promise for that much longer. So back at the Foundry, Oliver still believes that Malcom didn't kill Sara. He thinks that he's sincere about it. And Nyssa hits him and calls him foolish. And she warns him that she's made him an enemy tonight after he tells her that Malcom is under his protection as long as he's in Starling and the League is not to make a move. So basically, I thought this was very interesting. It definitely very interesting what's going on there. I really enjoyed that scene overall. And, basically, as long as he's in Starling, he's under his protection, and basically he's going to protect him, but I don't think that he's going to keep this promise to him. So, in the present, oh wait, I forgot that flashback. Back in Hong Kong, Oliver confronts Amanda. The man he killed was Eddie Fire's handler, and the flight on his USB drive was the one Oliver saved in Season 1. I have no idea what they're talking about here, because I didn't watch Season 1. So, Amanda had ordered the flight be shot down in an attempt to kill China Whites, who is now in Hong Kong, and now she's in Hong Kong, and Amanda wants to know why. She doesn't know why she's in Hong Kong, obviously. So that's going to be interesting to see what happens there. In the present, Laurel's hammering away at the heavy bag. She definitely is still getting into shape, because she still wants to be very tough and everything. And Nyssa comes to tell her goodbye, telling her that she plans on following through on her promise to Sara. And she instructs Laurel on form. And it's a good way to say goodbye because, Nyssa says how she underestimated her and how she is tough and everything. I thought that was very good because they were battling a lot through the episode and not really, liking each other, like they were arguing a lot, and definitely. So I like seeing that goodbye, definitely. I was happy that she does respect her. And at the end of the day, she realizes, look, she wants to be tough, and if she wants to be, she can be. I definitely like seeing that. She's not going to be Nyssa, but I think she can be. So, Quentin calls Sara, and I thought this was great. Basically, he's saying he wants to hear her voice, and of course, he doesn't realize that, what he doesn't realize, of course, is that Sara's dead, so this is not going to be good in the end, because he's going to realize Sara's dead, and it's not going to be good for him, and I definitely feel soon Laurel's going to have to tell him. Like, I know she doesn't want to, I know she wants to keep this as, best as under wraps as she wants to because of his health, and she's very concerned about that. But she needs to eventually come clean to him. I mean, how long can you keep this secret for? I don't think she can keep it for that much longer. So, Oliver and then Roy come to check in on Thea following her kidnapping. And Roy asks to work at the bar with her, and she tells him to stay on as an assistant manager. And they're basically going to be working together, which in my opinion is going to show that they are going to get back together. I definitely think they're going to get back together. I really liked Thea and Roy together, even though I didn't like them that much last season. I thought their plots were kind of silly sometimes and were kind of necessary. I really enjoyed their relationship, and I like where the show is heading, so I'm really hoping that, they do get back together, because I do like seeing that, definitely. So her phone rings, she says to her designer, she leaves it and takes it, and it's actually Malcom. And of course, we know the fact, they talk about how she's hiding it from Oliver that he's alive and everything, and, he says how they need to keep this as best under wraps as they can, and I thought that was definitely very interesting. And then we get the last scene of the episode, which is just huge, definitely, and I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how this ends, because it's such a great last scene. Nyssa goes home and reports to her father that Malcom is alive and in Starling, and it turns out her father is, yes, Ra's al Ghul. We all predicted it. I personally predicted that her father was Ra's al Ghul, just because of the way her character was. She is, it turns out that she is Ra's al Ghul's father. He's in a tub, he gets up, and Nyssa reports that Sara was killed and she wants to kill Malcom, and Ra's says that he will die, but not for killing Sara. Who was not truly one of them anyway, and I'm like, one of them? What does he mean by one of them? Does he mean, like, the League of Assassins? Like, was she not legally a League of Assassin member? Like, that's very interesting, because, of course, we know Sara was a part of the League of Assassins at some point, so was she not part of the League of Assassins anymore? Did she, like, leave the League of Assassins? I don't know what he's talking about there. He asks about Oliver, and when Nyssa says he will protect Malcom, Roz says that Oliver courts war with the League of Assassins, and that's how the episode ends. So basically, Ra's al Ghul is going to go after Oliver and his team, and I can't wait for the next episode. I think the next episode is going to be amazing, and I loved this episode. And there's so many things happening right now that I'm loving the show is doing. First of all, I love the return of Nyssa. I really hope she continues to be on the show. I love seeing her on the show. She is in no way a bad person. However, she is working with the enemy, of course, Ra's al Ghul. So although Thea's also working with Malcom. Do you feel that Malcom did kill Sara? I don't know if he did. I don't know if he's being truthful, because the way he was, saying that to not Laurel, I mean Thea, I really feel that he is lying to Oliver, and he just is trying to make himself look good, and he really did kill Sara. I really feel he did. I don't know if he did, but we'll have to see. Maybe Ra's al Ghul didn't. Maybe he's trying to hide it. I don't know. There's a possibility that he did it, or maybe it's neither of them. If it's a character, I personally think it's Ray Palmer. I personally do. He was very sketchy last week. We didn't see any of him this episode, but by the look on his face, he gave a very sinister look. I really feel that Ray Palmer is not a good guy. I really feel that probably he was the one who did it, in my opinion. Now, as far as Thea goes, they're not going to be able to keep this secret for that much longer. I mean, it's not going to work. Thea just is going to keep getting random calls from Malcom. Obviously, they're going to realize something's up, and I'm pretty sure soon she's going to tell him, what happened. Also, as far as the whole Laurel thing, she's going to have to tell Quentin that, Sarah's dead, because if he keeps calling Sara, he's going to realize that she's not answering and everything. He's going to realize that, and he's going to, start to get very suspicious and realize, what's happening. If she tells him, that'll, increase his, make his suspicions go away, and it'll be better for them in the long run, because basically the truth will set you free. I like what that's trying to show. And again, I really feel like Oliver's going to break his promise. They kept talking about it in this episode. They kept referencing Oliver making that promise, and I really feel because of the end of the episode, and because of the way the episode went overall, I feel he's going to break that promise. I really do. Nyssa wants him to, a lot of Thea wants him to, Laurel wants him to, all these people want him to break that promise. Also, Roy and Thea working together, is that setting up them getting back together? I really think it is. We'll have to see what happens there, definitely. And as far as the flashbacks go, I really like the flashbacks in this episode. We'll have to see what happens. I think we're going to meet China White in the next episode, which I'm interested in seeing. But this episode overall was really good. We did see one thing in Felicity. She just said what I missed, and I thought that was funny what they did with her character. Because she wasn't the whole episode, so she's just what I missed. And I do feel she is going to confess to Oliver what happened between her and what ended up happening between her and Barry. I do feel it's going to happen. It looks like next episode, apparently, it's Felicity-centric, which I think is cool. We're going to find out something about her. There's this guy that is a criminal, and basically he's been after her or something. I don't know. We'll have to see what happens there, but I'm really looking forward to the next episode. Let me know what you guys thought of this episode. That's it, my review. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know what you guys thought, and I'll see you guys in my next video, which will be my review for tonight's episode of American Horror Story Freak Show. So I'll see you guys, and of course, it's the craziest episode because it's part 2 of the Halloween episode, which means that's going to be crazy, and I can't wait for it, and I'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.